Good morning, dear friends. We welcome you to a new topic that is very important to all of you. Personal grooming. I'm sure you all like to be smart in front of your friends. Therefore, you like to imitate the latest style and fashions prevalent among your peers. There's nothing wrong in it. At the same time, you have to be aware of the sensibilities and expectations of the community and society in which we live. You have just read in the text about the experience of Roshan, a 16-year-old boy. His mother requested him to wear a white shirt and black pant as they were going to attend the funeral of a close relative. Then Roshan shouted, "I can't wear that. It's so drab. Everyone is going to laugh at me." Finally, not listening to his mother's advice, he decided to wear his preferred black t-shirt with a picture of his favorite heavy metal band across the front, with his military camouflage shorts. A spiked and gel hairdo completed the cool look. At the funeral, Roshan definitely stood out from the crowd. He too started to feel a little awkward as everyone else looked respectful and somber for the occasion, while he looked as if he was going to a beach party. Belatedly, Roshan realized what his mother meant when she said that it was a wrong outfit for a funeral. Many a time, the do's and don'ts of dress code may seem to restrain or limit our freedom. Like Roshan, we too would like to stick to our own dressing styles, being unaware of how our dressing choice can have an undesirable effect on the situation or people around. Hence, a small reflection on how to groom ourselves in an appropriate way in our outward expressions of dressing, behavior and attitudes would be beneficial towards living life in a more pleasing and respectful manner. Now, let us see a story you have read or heard as a child. It's known as the Emperor's New Clothes. Once there lived a vain emperor who cared for nothing except wearing and displaying beautiful and special clothes. One day, two weavers promised to weave him an extraordinary cloth that would be invisible to those who are unfit for their positions, stupid or incompetent. The emperor was curious about this and decided to have one made. But when they reached the palace with the precious attire, he could not see any colors or feel the cloth between his fingers. As he did not want the weavers or his courtiers to think of him as stupid, he started appreciating aloud the beauty and quality of the cloth. The courtiers too imitated the king and admired the beauty of the attire, though they could actually see nothing. When the ceremonial parade to display the new clothes began, not a single person dared to admit that he couldn't see any suit or clothes until a child innocently cried out, "The truth, the emperor is naked." Dear friends, we are well aware of the fashion consciousness that rules the world today. A recent survey shows 76% think that it is very important to be attractive in appearance, and the best way to be impressive among others and to fit in friends' circles is to follow the latest fashion styles and trends without realizing who we really are and what our true potential is. We give in to the need to be part of the crowd by blindly imitating celebrity styles. Living in a liberal culture, sometimes we even try to define our own styles and behavioral patterns without considering the society in which we live and its norms. Like the king in the story who hardly realized that we too are being fooled by social media and celebrity shows. We forget that we are dressing our own image. Our outward appearance can silently describe so much about ourselves. Today's psychologists point out that all this blind following, exaggerating our real self and craving for false worth come from our desire for self-worship, narcissism. And this in turn springs from an inner sense of inadequacy, a lack of willingness to accept ourselves as who we are. Now we are going to reflect on a very important topic, very important aspect of this. That is the need to embrace modesty. Look at the two pictures. Are you able to say from the nature of the building, the two buildings are seen, what it stands for? One is a church and another one is a gambling casino. Similarly, from your experience, we are giving a message of what we are and what we stand for. We are supposed to be children of God. Therefore, we need to embrace the quality of modesty in our appearance. I am going to give you some simple tips that would help us to embrace that important quality of modesty. Number one, know and accept ourselves. Understanding who we are and for what purpose we have been created is the best way to know why we should present ourselves in a respectful way to others. By having a good understanding about our body and physique, we would be able to find comfortable and elegant ways to present ourselves. The famous Greek philosopher Epictetus said, "Know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly." Exposing body parts or wearing non-fitting clothing easily draws attention to our body rather than our personhood. Second tip, follow the golden mean. In Latin, there is a saying, value stands at the middle. Being extra fashion conscious on the one hand, or not taking care of your personal grooming at all, both the extremes can never get us the desired result. Having a sense of style in a moderate measure, as well as being clean and neat in our personal grooming, would help us to win the hearts of many and be confident enough in our interactions. Third tip, realize it is a social responsibility. Respecting and valuing ourselves enables us to respect others in society. Hence, having a good sense of what is proper to wear at different occasions is a great way to celebrate our own self in its fullness. Accepting and acknowledging grooming standards, uniforms, dress codes at school, college, workplace, and respecting and obeying them is definitely sensible as well as important. Fourth point, realization that we are created by God with a purpose, and our abilities are God-given gifts. Therefore, our attitude in life would be always followed by qualities of meekness, humility, and simplicity. The recognition of our existence as children of God brings us an ethical imperative to respect other human beings too. It is interesting to note that all religious traditions consider modesty as more than just a question of how a person dresses. It is an attitude towards God and to other people. Fifth tip: communicate from a humble heart. Prophet Muhammad once said, modesty is part of faith, and that part of faith must lie in the heart. When we communicate from a humble heart, there is always a space left open for others, and we avoid making ourselves the center of any conversation. We would always be aware of the need to respect the dignity of the other person. Our every word and expression would be to respect others and never to offend or hurt them. Confucius said like this: he who speaks without modesty will find it difficult to make his words good. A sixth tip: modesty covers behavior and conduct. When Abdul Kalam, our former president, was once invited for a function to one of the IITs, noticing that the chair offered him on stage was bigger in size than the others, he refused to sit on it and offered it to another invited dignitary. Modesty covers the moral ethics and behavior in a man's life. A modest person would not be interested in displaying his talents or achievements for people to admire, but rather permits them to speak for themselves. Seventh tip: modesty in social media. Today, practicing modesty is not only confined to how we dress, talk, and behave, but also influences how we use technology. Though social networking helps us to connect with our friends and family, it could also change us into a different individual. With Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., we put our every thought and action, so to speak, out there for the world to see, foster a growing trend of self-absorption and exhibitionism. Hence, we should be aware of this danger and use social media wisely. It would be better to examine the intention and usefulness of the messages that we wish to communicate through such media and whether it is of any use to anyone. And the last tip, very important: what is precious should be covered. You may be familiar with Muhammad Ali, the famous heavyweight boxing champion. His worldwide known nickname is the Greatest, which refers to his incredible fighting talent. Once, one of his daughters remembers the greatest advice she received from him when she met him once wearing clothes that were quite revealing. She narrates, "My father took a good look at us. Then he asked me to sit near him and said something that I will never forget. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, 'Hannah, everything that God made valuable in the world is covered and hard to get to. Where do you find diamonds? Deep down in the ground, covered and protected. Where do you find pearls? Deep down at the bottom of the ocean, covered up and protected in a beautiful shell. Where do you find gold? Way down in the mine, covered over with layers and layers of rock. You have got to work hard to get to them.' He looked at me with diamonds. He looked at me with serious eyes and he said, "Your body is sacred. You are far more precious than diamonds and pearls, and so you should be covered too." Finally, let us hear what the Bible says. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment. Instead, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Dear students, now I'm asking you to answer a few questions which are given at the end of the text. Number one, how would you describe your personal style of dress? Number two, keeping the context of the occasion in mind, what would you wear to the following events or places? Wedding, school picnic, religious place of worship, funeral, family outing, moving with friends. Finally, looking at the list you have written above, what do you think are the key factors that dictate the way you dress? So we'll see you in the class tomorrow. Thank you and God bless you.